Elliot stared at his reflection in the mirror and sighed. The gala was in just 2 days, and he had no idea what to wear, or how to act, or what to say. Social events were never his strength, and the thought of mingling with alien diplomats, human officials, and scientists made him anxious. His lab coat felt safe, familiar, but it was not gala attire. He turned toward his apartment door and frowned. Maybe someone could help him. But who? Most of his neighbors were friendly in passing, but Elliot wasn't exactly social butterfly material. Then his thoughts landed on Lyra. Lyra lived next door. She was brilliant, organized, and somehow always seemed calm no matter what chaos happened in the colony city. And she had a habit of noticing things Elliot never did, even the little things. He hesitated for a moment, then pressed the intercom button. "Hey, Lyra," he said, his voice sounding smaller than usual in his own ears. Can you help me with something?" The intercom crackled. A soft, amused voice replied, "Depends. What kind of help?" Elliot ran a hand through his messy hair. I've been invited to the gala, and I don't know what to wear or how to act or basically anything. I need guidance." There was a pause, and then a laugh. "You mean, you want me to help you not look like a flustered lab rat in front of everyone?" "Exactly," Elliot said quickly, embarrassed. "Come over," Lyra said finally, "but only because I'm curious to see you in something other than your lab coat." Elliot felt a mix of relief and nervousness. When she opened her apartment door, she greeted him with her usual warm smile. Her apartment was neat, filled with glowing panels, half-built gadgets, and shelves full of mechanical tools. But it wasn't cold or sterile. It had a comfortable human warmth that somehow always made Elliot relax. "I need the full training," Elliot said, stepping inside. "How to walk, talk, even smile. You name it." Lyra chuckled. "I'll see what I can do, but first—" She paused, looking at him closely. "Do you even know why they invited you to the gala?" Elliot frowned. "I think because of my work, my xenobiology research. I didn't expect an invitation, honestly." Lyra nodded knowingly. "Exactly. That's why they want to see you in action, not just in theory. You have skills. You just need to show them." Elliot swallowed. "I'm not very social." "You're human," Lyra said, grinning. "Social awkwardness is part of your charm. But yes, we need to polish it." They began with clothing. Elliot had no idea what gala attire for a human on a mixed-species colony looked like. Lyra guided him through options. Colors, textures, even minor holographic enhancements that would subtly impress alien dignitaries without being flashy. Elliot tried on outfit after outfit, each one feeling slightly wrong, slightly unfamiliar. Lyra's patience never wavered, though she occasionally made teasing comments. "You know," she said at one point, holding a sleek jacket up to him, "if you tried half the effort in your lab like you're trying in fashion, I'd be terrified of your experiments." Elliot laughed nervously. "I think I'd rather terrify aliens with science than with fashion." "Fair enough," Lyra said, smiling. "But look at you. You're learning. You even stand taller." The small compliment made Elliot blush. He noticed it, of course, but quickly tried to hide it. Lyra, however, seemed unconcerned. After clothes, they moved to posture and movement. Elliot had a habit of slouching or fidgeting, which didn't inspire confidence. Lyra guided him through walking exercises, showing him how to carry himself without looking stiff. At first, Elliot stumbled, nearly knocking over a chair, but gradually he gained control. "Good," Lyra said, adjusting his shoulders. "Now, when you speak, don't rush. Imagine you're explaining your work to someone curious, not terrified." Elliot practiced, stumbling over his words at first. Lyra patiently corrected him, demonstrating how to maintain eye contact without staring and how to smile naturally instead of awkwardly. Each small victory felt enormous to Elliot, though he still couldn't shake the feeling that he was way out of his depth. During a break, they sat in Lyra's living room. Elliot noticed how the sunlight bounced off the holographic panels she had installed, casting small shimmering patterns on the floor. It was peaceful. "You're really good at this," Elliot admitted quietly. "Helping people? It's not something I understand well." Lyra tilted her head. "You'd be surprised what humans can do when they care. And I care about you." Elliot froze, unsure how to respond. He had never thought of Lyra as anything other than a brilliant neighbor and friend. But the way she said it, the gentleness in her tone, it made his chest tighten. Thanks," he managed. I mean, you're really good at this." Lyra just smiled, shaking her head. "You'll get there, I promise. And maybe you'll notice me someday." Elliot blinked. He wasn't sure what to say. He wanted to say something, but words failed him. Their training continued for hours. Lyra introduced Elliot to alien customs he had never considered: the correct way to bow, the subtle hand gestures that conveyed respect, the differences between humanoid species when it came to eye contact. Elliot absorbed everything, amazed at her knowledge and her patience. As evening approached, Elliot realized how much he had learned in just one day. He was still nervous, but he felt ready. Almost. Before leaving, Lyra handed him a small device. "This will help you remember the most important points, and maybe a few hints if you get flustered." She winked. "Use it wisely." Elliot accepted it, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. He wanted to say more, something like, "Thank you," that carried the weight of how much he appreciated her. But he only nodded. As he walked back to his apartment, Elliot thought about the gala. For the first time, he didn't feel like a helpless mess. He had tools, knowledge, and even a little confidence. And, well, maybe Lyra's influence had more effect than he realized. That night, Elliot lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Thoughts of the gala swirled in his mind. He imagined himself talking to aliens, making the right impression, and maybe noticing Lyra in a different way, but he quickly pushed the thought aside. Still, somewhere deep down, he felt that things were about to change, not just at the gala, but in the quiet corners of his life. He didn't know how or when, but Lyra's presence had planted a seed he couldn't ignore. And as sleep finally claimed him, Elliot dreamed of shimmering lights, alien faces, and the neighbor who had unknowingly become the most important person in his life. The next morning, Elliot woke to the soft hum of his apartment. Sunlight filtered through the wide windows, casting pale gold streaks across the floor. Today, he had another session with Lyra. He had learned a lot yesterday, but he knew there was still much to improve. He grabbed his notebook, filled with hastily scribbled tips from Lyra, and walked to her apartment. When he knocked, the door opened almost immediately. Lyra stood there holding 2 steaming cups of nutrient tea. "Good morning," she said with a smile. "Ready for round 2? Elliot nodded, trying not to look nervous. "I hope I can remember everything from yesterday." Lyra laughed. "Don't worry. We'll start slow. First, let's work on confidence. Today, it's not just about posture and words. It's about presence." Elliot frowned slightly. "Presence?" "Yes," Lyra said, guiding him to the middle of her living room. "Presence is how you make people feel when you enter a room. It's subtle, but important. Humans and aliens alike notice it. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if your presence is weak, it doesn't matter." Elliot nodded, determined to understand. He stood upright, shoulders back, trying to look calm. Lyra watched him, then demonstrated herself. She moved easily, her steps confident, her gaze steady. Elliot tried to copy her, but he felt stiff and awkward. "Relax," she said. "You're overthinking. Imagine you're speaking to a friend, Smile slightly, keep your posture natural. Don't force it. After a few attempts, Elliot managed a stance that felt comfortable yet confident. Lyra nodded approvingly. Better. Much better. You're starting to look like someone who belongs in the spotlight, not hiding in the shadows. Next, they moved to conversation practice. Lyra pulled out a small holographic panel that projected a few alien figures. These are basic simulations, she explained. We'll practice talking with aliens and humans together. You need to sound friendly, respectful, and intelligent, without sounding arrogant. Elliot's eyes widened. You made holograms for this? Of course, Lyra said, smirking. If humans can invent rocket ships, we can invent holograms for conversation practice. The first simulation was a humanoid alien with teal skin and 4 arms. Elliot froze for a moment, feeling the familiar nervousness rising. Remember, Lyra said softly, you know your research. Share it. Ask questions. Make eye contact, well, the right kind of eye contact. And breathe. Elliot took a deep breath and tried again. Greetings, he said. I'm Elliot. I study xenobiology. Your planet's ecosystem is fascinating, especially the symbiotic relationships I observed from orbit. The alien figure's holographic eyes blinked, and it responded in a polite tone. Elliot listened, nodded, and replied carefully. Each line felt awkward at first, but gradually, he found a rhythm. Excellent, Lyra said after a few rounds. You're listening, engaging, not just talking. That's half the battle. As the hours passed, Elliot grew more confident. Lyra's guidance made him realize that social interaction, like science, was something to practice, study, and refine. Around mid-afternoon, they took a short break. Lyra handed Elliot a small snack pack of nutrient bars. You're doing well, she said. But don't forget, gala attendees may not just evaluate your manners, they'll test your mind too. Questions, theories, ethical dilemmas. Be ready. Elliot chewed thoughtfully. I've never been good at thinking on the spot. That's why we practice, Lyra said. And I'll be here to remind you that even humans can solve problems when they focus. After the break, Lyra suggested a new exercise. Let's pretend something unexpected happens at the gala. How do you react? She created a holographic scenario, the gala hall suddenly shaking, lights flickering, guests murmuring in panic. Elliot froze, unsure what to do. Think, Lyra said calmly. What would a human do? You have knowledge, skills, and the ability to stay calm in emergencies. Use them. Elliot's mind raced. He remembered the emergency protocols in his research lab, the way he had handled chemical spills, and the rapid calculations he had done under pressure. Slowly, he took control. First, assess the situation, he said aloud. Check if anyone is hurt. Guide people to safety. Communicate clearly and calmly. Lyra's holograms responded as if they were real guests, moving where Elliot directed. He realized he felt a strange surge of confidence. In his mind, humans were capable of remarkable adaptability. He could think, act, and lead, even when others panicked. Very good, Lyra said, smiling. You didn't just react. You solved the problem. That's human ingenuity. That's what they need to see at the gala. Elliot felt a small thrill. Lyra's praise meant a lot, even if he didn't fully admit it to himself. The day continued with more exercises, remembering alien customs, practicing polite conversation, and even walking through a simulated gala hall filled with holographic guests. Elliot stumbled sometimes, but each mistake taught him something new. By evening, Elliot was exhausted but satisfied. He realized he had grown more in one day than he had in months of trying alone. Before leaving, Lyra handed him a small device again. This records everything we've practiced today. Review it tonight. And remember, she paused, giving him a meaningful look. "You're stronger, smarter, and braver than you think. Humans have always thrived by solving impossible problems. Don't forget that." Elliot nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "I won't." As he walked back to his apartment, Elliot thought about the gala. For the first time, he imagined himself not as a nervous, awkward scientist, but as someone who could face challenges, interact confidently, and even impress others. And Lyra's presence lingered in his thoughts more than he expected. That night, as he reviewed the holographic recordings, Elliot smiled. He had made mistakes, yes, but he had also adapted. He had learned to navigate social interactions, think under pressure, and handle unexpected situations, all qualities that made humans remarkable. And somewhere deep in his mind, Elliot realized that he wanted Lyra to see him succeed. Not just for himself, but because she had believed in him when he had doubted himself. For the first time, Elliot understood something simple and profound. Humans were capable of more than he had ever imagined, and with the right guidance, he could rise to any challenge. Lyra had not only prepared him for the gala, she had reminded him what it meant to be human, curious, resilient, and capable of growth. And maybe, just maybe, humans could navigate not only alien societies, but the delicate, unspoken bonds between people as well. As Elliot drifted into sleep, he dreamed of sparkling halls, alien faces, and a neighbor who had taught him that sometimes the greatest strength came not from knowledge alone, but from the connections that made humans care, fight, and thrive. The morning of the gala arrived bright and clear. Elliot's apartment was unusually quiet, a contrast to the usual hum of machinery and lab instruments. He checked his reflection in the mirror. His suit, chosen carefully with Lyra's guidance, fit perfectly. His hair was neat, posture straight, and expression calm. For the first time, Elliot felt ready to face a crowd. He carried the small device Lyra had given him, tucked safely in his pocket. It was a reminder of everything he had learned: posture, conversation tips, and quick emergency thinking. Most importantly, it reminded him of Lyra's faith in him. As he stepped out of his building, the city looked alive with energy. Flying vehicles zipped past sky bridges, holographic banners announced upcoming events, and humans and aliens moved side by side in the bustling streets. Elliot marveled at the sight, but reminded himself to stay focused. Today, he wasn't just observing, he was participating. When he arrived at the gala hall, he was immediately struck by its grandeur. The main chamber glimmered with floating lights that shifted colors in time with soft music. Elegant tables held shimmering trays of food, while holographic art floated in midair. Delegates from multiple planets mingled, exchanging polite gestures and observing each other carefully. Elliot swallowed hard. Despite all his preparation, the crowd's sheer scale made his heart race. He took a deep breath, recalling Lyra's advice. "Breathe, observe, engage. You can do this." Just as he adjusted his stance and took his first steps forward, he felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned, and there was Lyra, radiant in a sleek silver dress that somehow managed to be both simple and elegant. She smiled warmly. "You made it?" she said softly, looking confident too. Elliot's cheeks warmed. "Thanks." I'm ready." "Good," Lyra replied. "Let's navigate this together." They moved through the crowd, Elliot practicing polite conversation with humans and aliens alike. At first, he stumbled over names and customs, but Lyra's subtle nudges helped him correct each mistake. He found himself laughing more, enjoying the interactions, and even feeling a sense of pride in representing humanity. Then, without warning, the hall shook. A low hum grew louder, and the floating lights flickered violently. Guests gasped, some stepping back in alarm. The holographic art wavered like water. Elliot's pulse quickened, not with fear, but with focus. "What's happening?" someone shouted in the crowd. Elliot's eyes darted toward the center of the hall. A mysterious alien artifact, displayed on a pedestal for observation, was glowing with an intense blue light. The energy pulsed rhythmically, then surged violently, sending a wave of force through the room. Drinks spilled, glasses clattered, and some smaller holograms collapsed. "Stay calm," Lyra whispered, grabbing Elliot's arm. "We need to assess the situation." Elliot nodded, recalling the emergency drills from their training sessions. He approached the artifact cautiously, noting the alien symbols etched across its surface. The readings on nearby monitors fluctuated wildly. This was unlike anything Elliot had seen in his research lab. "I think it's unstable," Elliot said, speaking quickly but clearly. "The energy is building. If it surges again, it could harm everyone." Lyra's eyes widened. "Can you contain it?" Elliot hesitated, then shook his head. "Not fully, but I can stabilize it temporarily. I need access to the control panels." They moved together toward the pedestal. Elliot's mind raced as he analyzed the alien technology. He had never interacted with this type of energy before, but his knowledge of xenobiology and adaptive thinking allowed him to spot patterns and potential solutions. He gestured to the nearest attendants, guiding them to secure guests in safe zones. "Everyone move back," he shouted. "Keep calm. Follow my instructions." Lyra assisted by translating his commands to the various alien delegates. Despite the chaos, Elliot felt a strange thrill. This was a situation where human ingenuity could shine. He wasn't just a scientist anymore. He was a problem solver, a leader, someone who could rise to the challenge. Elliot connected his device to the artifact's interface, a combination of human technology and alien energy resonance. He carefully adjusted the energy flow, monitoring the artifact's pulses. The blue light dimmed slightly, then surged again, testing his control. "You can do this," Lyra encouraged, standing close but giving him space. "Trust yourself." Elliot's hands moved with precision. He recalibrated the flow, countered fluctuations, and finally, after several tense moments, the artifact stabilized. The hum faded, lights returned to normal, and the holographic art floated once more. The crowd, watching from a safe distance, erupted into applause. Lyra's eyes sparkled. "You did it!" Elliot exhaled, feeling both relief and exhilaration. "We did it," he said, glancing at her. "I couldn't have managed without you." She smiled, but her expression softened in a way that made Elliot's chest tighten. "You were brilliant, Elliot. You stayed calm, analyzed quickly, and took control. Humans have a way of solving impossible problems. I knew you had it in you." Elliot felt warmth spread through him, a mixture of pride and something else he couldn't quite name. For a moment, he realized that humans weren't just clever. They were adaptable, resilient, and capable of courage when it mattered most. And in that moment, beside Lyra, he understood that he had grown beyond his own doubts. The rest of the gala continued with heightened excitement. Guests whispered about Elliot's calm handling of the artifact, and delegates sought him out to ask questions. Elliot answered carefully, still practicing the etiquette and conversation skills Lyra had taught him. He felt a new sense of confidence. Humans could face the unknown and succeed. As the evening wore on, Elliot found himself standing near the balcony, watching the city lights sparkle below. Lyra joined him, carrying 2 glasses of nutrient tea. "You handled that like a pro," she said softly. "I'm proud of you." Elliot looked at her, realizing how much her presence had grounded him. I couldn't have done it without you," he admitted. Lyra raised an eyebrow, teasingly. "Oh, I don't know. Humans have a way of surprising even themselves. But yes, I helped. A little." They laughed, and Elliot felt a lightness he had never experienced at a social event. In the chaos of alien technology and high-pressure situations, He had found his place, not just as a scientist, but as a human capable of brilliance, courage, and connection. As the gala drew to a close, Elliot realized something else. In all the commotion, he had noticed Lyra in ways he hadn't before. Her confidence, her calm, her faith in him. It wasn't just guidance, it was care. And maybe, just maybe, he had failed to see it before because he had never expected someone to believe in him so completely. The night ended with laughter, polite farewells, and congratulations from both human and alien guests. Elliot left the gala with a sense of accomplishment and an understanding that humans were not only clever and resourceful, but capable of facing the extraordinary with courage and heart. Walking back to his apartment, Elliot reflected on the day. The gala had been a challenge, yes, but he had risen to it. And as he looked at the stars above the colony city, he thought about Lyra, her guidance, her patience, and the quiet, unspoken bond that had grown between them. For the first time, Elliot felt certain of one thing. Humans could shine, not just through technology or knowledge, but through courage, adaptability, and the connections that made them care. And Lyra had shown him exactly how bright that light could be. The morning after the gala, Elliot woke with a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. The events of last night played repeatedly in his mind. The dazzling lights, the conversations with alien diplomats, and most of all, the moment he had stabilized the artifact. But even beyond that, his thoughts kept returning to Lyra. He couldn't stop thinking about how calm she had been during the chaos, how her presence had guided him, and how her eyes had held something he had never truly noticed before. Something personal. Something tender. By mid-morning, Elliot decided to visit Lyra's apartment. He wanted to thank her properly, not just for the training, but for believing in him when he hadn't believed in himself. He rehearsed what he might say, but every sentence sounded inadequate. When he knocked, Lyra answered almost immediately. She looked as composed as ever, but there was a spark of curiosity in her eyes. "Good morning," she said, stepping aside to let him in. "I was just reviewing some of the gala recordings." Elliot followed her inside, feeling slightly nervous. He carried a small gift, a crystal from a xenobiology site he had been studying, polished and framed in a simple display. "For you," he said softly. "To. Thank you." Lyra's eyes softened as she took it. "It's beautiful," she said. "Thank you, Elliot." She placed it on a shelf near her holographic workstation, where the light caught it just right. For a moment they stood in silence, the quiet hum of her apartment surrounding them. Elliot wanted to say something more, but words caught in his throat. He glanced at Lyra, noticing for the first time the way her expression changed when she looked at him. Not the casual, neighborly warmth, but something more intentional, something he had never realized he had missed. Finally, Lyra broke the silence. "Elliot, there's something I've been meaning to tell you." Elliot froze, heart racing. He didn't know what she might say, but a strange mix of anticipation and fear filled him. "You still don't notice, do you?" she continued, her voice soft but steady. "I like you. I have for a long time." Elliot blinked, his mind scrambled. He remembered all the times she had been there for him, patiently helping him with research problems, guiding him socially, supporting him when he doubted himself. And now, he realized, the small gestures, the smiles, the encouragement, the quiet presence were signs he had never recognized. I, he started, searching for words. I never realized." Lyra shook her head slightly, a mixture of amusement and exasperation in her eyes. "I've been patient, Elliot. I thought you'd notice eventually, but it's okay. You don't have to say anything yet." Elliot felt his cheeks flush. He wanted to speak, but everything seemed inadequate compared to the honesty in her words. He took a deep breath. I should have noticed, he admitted finally. You've always been there. You believe in me more than I ever believed in myself. And I think I like you, too. Lyra's expression softened further, a small smile playing on her lips. It's about time you realized, she said lightly, though there was warmth behind her teasing tone. Elliot felt a wave of relief and happiness wash over him. For the first time, he understood that human connections weren't just about social skills or knowledge. They were about trust, care, and shared moments. And Lyra had been showing him that all along. They spent the rest of the morning talking, sharing memories, and laughing at small moments from the past weeks. Elliot found himself opening up in ways he had never before, speaking about his fears, his doubts, and his dreams. Lyra listened patiently, offering insights and encouragement without judgment. At one point, Elliot realized how much he had underestimated his own growth. He had faced chaos at the gala, stabilized an alien artifact, and handled complex social interactions, all with Lyra's guidance. And yet, the most profound lesson wasn't in science or etiquette. It was in understanding the people around him and allowing himself to care as much as he had been cared for. Lyra leaned back in her chair, watching him. You've changed, she said softly. Not just in skill, but in confidence. You're beginning to see what humans are truly capable of. Elliot smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. I think I'm beginning to understand. Humans aren't perfect, but we can adapt, solve problems, and care deeply. Maybe that's what makes us strong. Exactly, Lyra said, her voice full of pride. And sometimes it takes someone else to help you see it. Elliot nodded. He thought about the gala, the artifact, and the countless hours of preparation. He realized that humans thrived not only because of intellect or strength, but because of the bonds they formed. Trust, friendship, and love gave them resilience. Lyra had shown him that firsthand. As the afternoon sunlight streamed through the windows, Elliot and Lyra moved to the balcony. The colony city stretched out below, glowing with life and energy. Spaceships floated between towers, and the hum of activity reminded Elliot of how vast and unpredictable the universe could be. Yet, in that moment, he felt grounded. I want to thank you, Elliot said, turning to Lyra, not just for the gala or the training or all of this, but for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. Lyra reached out, lightly touching his arm. You don't have to thank me. That's what humans do for each other. And I like being by your side. Elliot's chest tightened, a mixture of joy and gratitude swelling inside him. He realized that the human experience wasn't just about surviving or achieving, it was about connection. And with Lyra, he felt a connection deeper than he had ever known. For a long while, they stood together on the balcony, watching the city shimmer and pulse with life. Elliot felt a sense of clarity he hadn't experienced before. The universe was vast and unpredictable, but humans had something extraordinary, the ability to grow, adapt, and form bonds that gave meaning to their lives. And in that quiet, shared moment, Elliot understood that the most important discoveries weren't always about alien ecosystems or scientific breakthroughs. They were about the people who stood beside you, helping you see your own potential. By evening, the conversation had shifted to plans for the coming days. Lyra suggested small exercises to continue practicing social skills and adaptability, but Elliot noticed a lightness in their interaction that hadn't been there before. They laughed freely, teased each other, and shared insights, building a connection that went beyond training. At one point, Elliot caught Lyra glancing at him with a playful smirk. You're getting better every day, she said, not just in social skills or problem solving, but in noticing things. Elliot blushed, realizing she meant more than his ability to observe alien customs. "I'm trying," he admitted. "You don't have to try so hard with me," Lyra said softly. "I've already noticed everything." Elliot felt a warmth he couldn't describe. For the first time, he truly understood that humans weren't just clever or strong. They were capable of deep, meaningful connections that could shape their lives in ways technology never could. And Lyra had shown him that, patiently and consistently. As the night approached, Elliot finally left Lyra's apartment, feeling a sense of peace and anticipation. The gala had tested his skills, but today had tested his heart. And for the first time, he felt confident in both. Walking back to his apartment, Elliot reflected on the past days. He had learned about human ingenuity, resilience, and courage in the face of challenges. But he had also learned about human emotion, about noticing, caring, and forming bonds that could change everything. And in the quiet of the night, under the shimmering stars of the colony city, Elliot realized something profound. The human experience wasn't just about knowledge or survival, it was about growth, trust, and love. And for Elliot, the greatest discovery of all was Lyra herself. The morning after the revelation, Elliot woke with a sense of clarity he had never felt before. The events of the gala, the chaotic artifact, and Lyra's confession all seemed to have shifted something inside him. He wasn't just a scientist anymore. He was someone who could handle the unexpected, adapt, and thrive. And he had someone by his side who believed in him, no matter what. He dressed carefully, double-checking his outfit for the day. Not a gala, but an important follow-up. The artifact had been stabilized temporarily, but the Colony Council needed a permanent solution. Humans and aliens alike looked to Elliot for guidance. He felt a mixture of excitement and pressure. When he arrived at Lyra's apartment, she was already waiting, tools and holographic schematics spread across her workstation. She looked up and smiled, that familiar spark of confidence in her eyes. "Ready to finish what we started?" she asked. Elliot nodded. "Absolutely. Let's do this." Together they approached the artifact. It was now securely transported to a research chamber, shielded for safety. Elliot examined the energy readings. Unlike yesterday, this was not just about stabilizing. It was about neutralizing the dangerous energy permanently without damaging the surrounding systems. "We'll need to combine human technology with alien energy modulation," Elliot explained. "I can calculate the resonance patterns, but I'll need your engineering skills to implement the adjustments precisely." Lyra nodded, rolling up her sleeves. "Then let's get to work." Hours passed in a focused, almost meditative rhythm. Elliot analyzed the complex alien energy flows, while Lyra calibrated the devices, adjusted conduits, and ensured everything was aligned perfectly. Their teamwork felt seamless. Every correction, every adjustment, was met with quiet affirmation from the other. During a brief pause, Elliot glanced at Lyra. "I never realized humans really can solve impossible problems when we work together, and sometimes we need someone else to help us see what's possible." Lyra smiled softly, her eyes holding warmth he hadn't noticed before. "Exactly. And sometimes the impossible becomes possible simply because we refuse to give up." As the afternoon progressed, the artifact began to respond. Energy readings stabilized, then gradually decreased. Elliot adjusted the modulation patterns, and Lyra fine-tuned the conduits. The final sequence required precise timing and absolute calm. Exactly the kind of situation Elliot had dreaded before the gala, but now felt prepared to face. "Are you ready?" Lyra asked. Elliot nodded, focusing entirely. "Ready." Together, they activated the final sequence. The artifact glowed briefly, then a wave of energy pulsed outward, but instead of chaos, it was controlled, harmless. The monitors confirmed that the energy had been safely neutralized. Elliot and Lyra exchanged a triumphant glance. "We did it," Elliot said, almost in disbelief. "We did," Lyra agreed, smiling. The news of their success spread quickly. Humans and aliens alike praised Elliot for his ingenuity, composure, and quick thinking. Lyra's guidance was acknowledged as a key factor in the operation, though she deflected the praise with a modest shrug. Elliot, however, knew the truth. They had accomplished this together. Later, back at Lyra's apartment, they celebrated quietly with tea and laughter. Elliot finally allowed himself to relax completely, enjoying the moment without the pressure of crisis or expectation. "You know," Elliot said, "I think I understand what makes humans special. It's not just our intelligence or technology. It's our ability to care, to connect, and to rise to challenges even when we're afraid. That's what saved the gala, and today, the artifact." Lyra nodded. "Exactly. And you proved it. You didn't just follow instructions. You led, adapted, and thought creatively. Humans really can shine in extraordinary situations." Elliot smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride, not only in what they had achieved, but in how far he had grown. "I never would have believed it if it weren't for you," he admitted. "You're giving me too much credit," Lyra teased, but her eyes revealed something more tender. "You had it in you all along." Elliot laughed softly, feeling lighter than he had in years. "Then maybe I should learn to notice things more often," he said, half joking, half serious. "You're doing fine," Lyra said, reaching out to lightly touch his arm. "And now, maybe we can focus on noticing each other." Elliot felt a warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with the artifact or technology. It was human, real, and undeniable. For the first time, he realized that triumph wasn't just about solving problems or earning praise. It was about sharing victories with someone who truly mattered. Over the next few days, Elliot and Lyra continued to refine their work with the artifact, ensuring long-term stability. Elliot grew more confident in interacting with alien delegates, managing complex systems, and thinking creatively under pressure. But more importantly, he and Lyra nurtured their connection, sharing small moments of laughter, insight, and understanding that strengthened both their partnership and friendship. One evening, as the sun dipped below the city towers, Elliot and Lyra stood on the balcony, looking out at the glowing skyline. "You know," Elliot said, "I used to think being human was ordinary, weak even, but I see now that humans can do amazing things. We adapt, we survive, and we create solutions no one else can." Lyra smiled. "And we do it better when we work together. Humans aren't perfect, but our ability to care, to learn, and to persist makes us remarkable." Elliot nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment deeper than any scientific discovery he had ever made. And having someone who believes in you, that makes all the difference. Lyra reached for his hand, a simple gesture filled with meaning. "Then let's keep believing in each other." Elliot squeezed her hand gently, a silent promise. Together they had faced chaos, solved impossible problems, and discovered something even more important: the power of human connection, courage, and ingenuity. In the weeks that followed, Elliot and Lyra became known not just for their success with the artifact, but for their demonstration of human ingenuity in a universe full of challenges. Their story inspired both humans and aliens, showing that collaboration, quick thinking, and compassion could overcome even the most unpredictable crises. And for Elliot, the greatest triumph was personal. He had grown into a more confident, capable, and empathetic human. He had noticed Lyra, understood her care, and allowed himself to accept his own feelings. The experience had proven that humans could rise above fear, embrace challenges, and shine in ways no technology or skill alone could achieve. One evening, as the city lights shimmered beneath the stars, Elliot looked at Lyra with a quiet smile. "We did more than fix the artifact," he said. "We proved something important about humans, and about ourselves." Lyra smiled back, her eyes reflecting the city lights. "Exactly. And this is just the beginning." Elliot laughed softly. "Then I'm ready for the next challenge, with you by my side." Together they stood on the balcony, watching the universe unfold around them. The city, the stars, and the distant planets all seemed full of possibilities. And in that moment, Elliot realized the truth he had been learning all along. Humans weren't just survivors or problem solvers. They were creators, adapters, and connectors. They could face chaos, solve impossible problems, and thrive. But most importantly, humans could care deeply, and that care could change everything. And with Lyra, Elliot knew he had discovered one of humanity's greatest strengths, the bond between two people who believed in each other, no matter the challenge, no matter the universe. It was a triumph unlike any other. Humanity, courage, ingenuity, and connection all shining bright. And Elliot smiled, finally understanding what it truly meant to be human. The adventure had tested him, taught him, and changed him. But the final victory was not just in the science. It was in the human heart. And in that truth, Elliot and Lyra found their greatest triumph yet.